day. Now go and tell all the neighbors, yeah. Then crank up the radio. There's infotainment, brilliance to get you on your way. Wake up and start your day with Jimmy Lakey.
Well, howdy, everybody. How you doing? Everybody's good. Welcome to the program. Glad to have you here. Pleasured, pleased, and thrilled to be here on the program. It's a nice day to be here. The day the Lord has made. Tuesday, the 30th day of December. Year of our Lord 2025. Glad to have you here. RJ checks in from the River Valley of Arkansas. Nice to have you there. Jeff says his New Year's resolution already is to donate more to River's Promise. Are there any volunteer opportunities for the organization? On occasion, we have some volunteer opportunities pop up at different events, etc. Just crashed everything off my desk this morning as a whole of our school campus and Rwanda. It's upside down. Sorry, everything just fell off the desk over here. All my props just fell off. So that's good. Anyway, welcome to the program. The final show of 2020. What is this? 2020. 2025. Next time I sign on this program, it will be 2026, and learn to say that. It's not as bad as it used to be. Remember when you used to write checks? And it took you like 6 months to start to get the date right on the checks. Well, now that we don't write many checks, it's a lot easier to adjust. But anyway, good to have all of you here on the program. We'll talk about, we got Dennis Neal, former CNBC contributor, on the program today. Laura Carno joins us for Carno Tuesday. And also Peter Lumage are going to join us, an immigration attorney, talk about immigration, green cards, what we're giving out, what we're not giving out, and also talk about the Somalian pirates up in Minnesota. So we'll get all that coming up on the program in just a little bit. All right, we'll go back to Minnesota, talk more about Nick Shirley and his breaking reporting that happened. There's stories coming out now that this tale in Minnesota has been dating back, fraud there's been dating back to 2013. It's been going back a while. And Pam Bondi says we've already convicted 60 people on this thing. And I'll talk about that detail here in just a moment. And you say, well, convicted, you got to have more charges. Convicted means it's already been in the system. So anybody that says the Justice Department has not been on this might be missing something, because there already have been people convicted of the crimes, not just charged with the crimes. So that's a further process. So that's been going on longer. So anyway, we'll dive into all of it and see how it unfolds and how it unpacks. One of the most curious comments that I saw on the line yesterday is various comments from various people on news sites when they were talking about Minnesota, said, hey, come to Colorado, come to Arkansas, come to California. It would be interesting to see, even if it's not as blatant as it is in Minnesota, how much fraud and waste is going on in these cities, and all named in the fact that, as Tim Walz said yesterday, Minnesota, if you're going to criticize it, you're going to get called a white supremacist. Nick Shirley just said, hey, this is where your tax dollars going on, but you're called a white supremacist for doing that. That's what Timmy Walz did to Nick Shirley yesterday. We will dive into that. Everybody excited for the New Year's? Delilah, are you excited for the New Year? Yeah, I got this little thing going on. Well, producer Chad and I were playing last night. We were celebrating the New Year, and he was at the Lakey estate, and we had a cigar and a drink, and up way too late, having good conversation as producer Chad and I normally do. So I don't know what got this thing going on here in my head, but I'm fine. Don't worry about me. Anybody got plans for New Year's Eve? I was asking producer Chad. He's going to send it in the neighborhood. My son and I were comparing New Year's Eve plans yesterday. Of course, he's in from college, and he's working on a plan, and the driver is what he's working on. And I don't think I have a plan, and I'm totally fine with that. I don't think I have a plan. I've got to check the inbox. There was a couple of back and forths going on about we should do this, we should do that, but I don't know. What time can I be in bed? That's what I'm thinking of. I'm thinking maybe it's just time to go to bed and enjoy 2026 at a decent hour of the morning. So we'll see. I hope you got plans. Here's the question. We did the story yesterday. This is now our question of the day. What is your favorite activity on New Year's Eve? Remember when you were younger, like my son, you were looking for activities on Friday night to go do something, usually involving parties and lots of people and things like that. And for me, the most wonderful time of celebration would be just me or maybe one or two other people. I don't have to do it. So let me ask you, what is your favorite New Year's Eve tradition? The story yesterday we had in the show, and I'll go back to it if you weren't on the program yesterday. The story yesterday was what is your favorite New Year's Eve activity? Now, some of these have not been around forever, so it may not be a tradition, but according to most Americans, they polled 3,000 Americans, and the top thing they want to do on New Year's Eve is not go to a party, not go bar hopping, not go to a dinner. They want to sit home and watch Netflix. 35% of Americans say that watching Netflix is the top way that they'd like to spend the new year. 24% would rather go to a big New Year's Eve party. So it's a pretty 11-point spread between go to the New Year's Eve party or stay home and binge watch Netflix. What is your favorite activity and or tradition on New Year's Eve? Go to a New Year's Eve party, 24%, watch Netflix, 35%. The third on the list is just get some sleep. Rather just make sure you're in bed before midnight. You don't have to see the stroke of midnight. You don't care about the stroke of midnight. It ain't a big deal. You're not that bothered by it. So 20% of Americans say, I just want to go to bed. I'm not going to pay attention to it. And then 4 said, I'm going to watch it, but I'm going to just sit on social media and scroll the telephone. And 11% say they don't really give a rat's patootie. They'll just do whatever happens that night. So give me your thoughts. What's your New Year's Eve tradition and or what is your New Year's Eve favorite activity? Feel free to let us know. I remember New Year's, my first New Year's. By the way, this date, where were you? Let me ask you, in 1997. Does anybody remember where you were at in 1997? Something miraculous happened on this date in 1997, and that is that there was a United Airlines flight that landed in Colorado, and this young guy, not too far out of college, was on the airplane, and his name was Jimmy Lakey. And I had landed because I had been offered a job on a radio station in the Denver area 28 years ago today. Where were you 28 years ago today? Seems like yesterday. And I was in my 20s, and I showed up here to do a radio show, and the time it was 560 KLZ. It was an AM station, but they were the only station in town that was doing Christian music, and I had to and so I was going to be the morning DJ, and I thought the 30th was a very strange time for me to arrive. Going to be the morning drive DJ, and I'd never really done radio in my life, but I had a nice voice, I was told, and I faked it well. So I showed up on the 30th, thought that's where they said, no, they're going to do some training. Suddenly on the 1st, the guy you're taking over for will do some training with you. So that's a holiday, but that's fine. So I showed up here, and I got to look back at the dates, but the 30th I showed up, and the radio station had a car rented for me and a hotel booked for me because all of my stuff was in Texas. And I got to downtown Denver where I was going to stay near the radio station, and showed up on the morning of the 1st dutifully at the radio station as I had been told to, and there was nary a mouse. Nobody was there. It was empty, and I realized that what they didn't tell me is right before Christmas they decided that I would just start on the 3rd or 4th. So I had my first few days in Denver going, I don't know who, I knew no one here, and I showed up here. So 28 years ago today, I showed up in Colorado and began making my life here. And I've been here ever since. Hard to believe we've been here 28 years. I thought it was a phase. I thought I would be in and out, but 28 years ago today, 1997, Jimmy Lakey, that's me, by the way, landed in Colorado, and here we are 28 years later, still making history. You're welcome, and thank you, and congratulations to me. Thank you very much. I don't know if I deserve 28 years. I mean, how long do you celebrate that anniversary? But 28 years ago today, I'm kind of like a pioneer that came across the plains and saw the Rocky Mountains and said, well, I guess as far as I go. And I stopped here, but I did live in California for a period of time as well. I had a house there. So both. I've commuted. Anyway, good to have all of you here. Pleasured, pleased, and thrilled. Glad to see all of you out there, and pleasured. Jeff brings up a comment there in the chat room I think is fascinating. I don't see all the comments because I don't really care, and I'm talking. But it says, on all the platforms, there seems to have been a lot of trollers out there. You don't see, I see we see, and producer Chad sees all the comments on X and everything's combined. I don't see all of them but you don't see, if you're on Facebook, you see Facebook, if you're on Rumble. But I guess we're doing something right. We're getting trollers every day. The trollers are showing up more and more and more. And if you're not taking flack, if you're not taking heat, you're probably not over the target. And so congratulations to us. Jeff says, such a sad bunch. I'll keep praying for them. Let's keep praying. So whatever. we really welcome to give a well thought out opinion. You're welcome to do that, but trolling, that's fine. I guess it just shows we're over the target, taking flack from somewhere. All right, let's dive into a couple of topics here. Dennis Neal's going to be on the program here, scheduled in just a few moments. We don't want to miss that, and we'll get to him. 28 years, Delilah. Can you believe 28 years? Delilah wants to inform me that is longer than she's been alive. What's your age? I'll look. I'm going to call HR here at the Lakey Entertainment House. Find out how old you are. You weren't born 28 years ago. Wow. No wonder you're irresponsible and don't get your job done. You're a slacker. You're young. You need to do better. No. Delilah says she was not born 20 years ago. I can't believe I got here 28 years ago and did radio for years. Radio on the 560 KLZ. Then I made the transition to talk radio, and the rest is history. 25 plus years of talk radio in Colorado and Denver, etc. So anyway, good to have all of you here. I'm happy. Let's talk about Nick Shirley. Let me play it again. If you missed it, then we'll go to Dennis Neal. Nick Shirley is the man about town, my friends. Every time you watch a newscast from this point on, you have to say, is he like a Nick Shirley or is he like a, one of those other squirrely guys? Here it is, Nick Shirley braving the world and exposing what evidently has now been going on since 2013. And there's already been 60 plus convictions, Pam Bondi says, and yet the fraud's still going. And if you have 60 plus convictions on this type of fraud in Minnesota, you have to say, why did we keep giving money? It's one thing to get convictions. Why did we keep giving money? So this is Nick Shirley exposing what your tax dollars have been going towards. Go ahead.
Minnesota, massive fraud is taking place within the government and the Somali population. Here, this building alone, Quality Learning Center, is a daycare, yet they spelled learning wrong and they said leering. This daycare alone in 2025 has received $1.9 million from the government. And the strange things about these childcare centers is there's no one here right now. It's midday on a weekday. And if you were to try to go inside, it's completely closed and the windows are all blacked out. No one's working, midday. Children should be in here, and this place is licensed for 99 children, and this is the outside. There's no windows, no nothing. And like I said, they literally spelt the word wrong on their sign. This is open and blatant fraud taking place here inside of Minnesota. The government is complicit with this, and this is just one of the hundreds of child daycare centers here inside of Minneapolis being ran by the Somali population. It's sad that it's happening here in Minnesota, and it stinks that it's happening and it's being labeled on the Somali population. However, that's just the facts of what's happening here inside of Minnesota. $1.9 million for this daycare center that can't even spell learning right.
Delilah couldn't spell learning right either. Don't hold that against him, but do get the idea. Anyway, give me your thoughts on this. Now, yesterday, miraculously, some of the news agencies that had not been reporting on this, even though fraud dates back to 2013, some of the news agencies went there and said, oh, let's go check out these daycare centers. There are going to be brave reporters going to these daycare centers that they have ignored and not done any investigation of. And guess what? All of a sudden, yesterday, Minnesota daycare reappeared with children. After fraud claims. This is according to Charlie McCarthy's report. Minnesota daycare facility exposed as part of an alleged fraud scheme reportedly was busy with children on Monday after previously being a ghost town. The once quiet location with a glaring typo on it called Quality Learning Center suddenly appeared bustling. A busy parking lot, roughly 20 children were streaming in and out, according to the New York Post, who probably bravely sent their reporters there to check out that which they had ignored for many, many years, not investigated. That scene was a dramatic contrast to what a nearby resident described is typically as a ghost town. So all these kids are bustling in and out of this leering center, and they go to the neighbors and say, hey, is that unusual? The neighbor said, yeah, we've never seen any kids go in there until today, the local told the New York Post. So they put on a good dog and pony show because those brave journalists decided to show up to Minnesota and find out what's been going on there. Ladies and gentlemen, Tuesday, December the 30th year of our Lord 2025, final show of 2025. You might recognize his name and face from the CNBC, also Fox Business, and a friend of the show, Dennis Neal, is now in the studio. We bring him in. Dennis, good morning, sir. How are you?
Good morning, Jimmy. You got lots of energy going just one day before New Year's Eve. And a quick comment, if I may. There's this old anecdote for any reporter. You're in a job interview, and the editor asks you, okay, let's say you're alone in the newsroom at midnight and there's a fire at the biggest warehouse in town. What do you do? And the right answer in the job interview is, oh, you go there. Yeah. And what happened with this Minnesota fraud is finally reporters decided to go there. And it's extraordinary. And I know that every journalist in the country, including this one here, is so jealous of this young pup, Nick Shirley. So jealous of those 120 million views. Every one of us is saying, why didn't I do this? Why didn't I think of this? And shame on the rest of us,
Yeah. Let me ask you, why do you think, how the assignments are doled out in the big networks, CNBC, Fox News Experience, Fox Business? Why didn't they go there? It seems as if, I'm not picking on him, but Jesse Waters sends Johnny out on the street every night for do interviews and man on the streets. Why didn't anybody think of this? Why was no assignment editor going, hey, we got to go check out these fraud claims in why? Newsmax, Fox, even some of the conservative places didn't do this. Why?
And it's because of the division right now in this country. There is no middle anymore for the media to go after. You're either far left or you're far right. And so for all of the regular mainstream media who are far left to dare go after this story would be racist because Somalis are black. And I think that's a big reason they didn't bother going after it. That and laziness, maybe. Gosh, it's just extraordinary. And by the way, there is no way that Minnesota is alone in this, right? We're already seeing some reports about Washington State and Oregon State, which I'm in the middle of writing a book on called Oregoners. And I'm telling you that this fraud it sounds like it's everywhere. And Elon Musk just came out and estimated, I'll bet you, he said 15 to 20% of our $7 trillion in annual spending by the federal government of our tax money, 15 to 20% is probably going straight into fraud. And the reason the media haven't gone after it is because their congressional sources and government sources haven't gone after it. And the reason they haven't gone after it is because they're round tripping. And we're seeing the money that is being sent to all of these supposed helpers of children, et cetera, come right back around and go as campaign donations right back to the Democrats.
I think of this number, and this is a couple of reports out this morning. The fraud in Minnesota that has been known to be going on since 2013. Do the math there. Pam Bondi came out yesterday, the attorney general, and said, don't worry, there have been 60 people convicted, not charged, already convicted. In other words, these crimes have been known since 2013. People have already been convicted. They didn't get to the bottom of it, obviously, since 2013. And yet our government keeps doling out money to these sources, and they know that there's fraud going on. That's also an unbelievable part, not just the media, but that we keep perpetuating the problem by keep funding this stuff when we know there's criminals that have been convicted for this type of behavior.
Because politicians don't base their outlook on outcomes and results. They base it on one thing: do I get reelected? And if we dare go after these poor Somali children, this could cost me my election. And especially in Minnesota, in Minneapolis, where Somalis have been all settled in one place. Why? And they've overtaken the politics there. It's just absolutely. You've got that mayor, Jacob Fry, speaking Somali in Minneapolis, one of the whitest cities in the country. It's just ridiculous. Pandering. It's shameful, but no one will go after it usually because of white guilt.
Yeah.
We don't want to be seen as beating up on poor Somali immigrants when it turns out a certain subset are terrific scamsters. And one other thing, Jimmy, where are the white Americans in this scamming? How come we're sitting on the sidelines and not going to dip it into this big trough of federal money as well? Where's our entrepreneurship? What's happening?
I said, you know my charity work. I was in Africa a couple of times ago when we talked, and I'm there 3 or 4 times a year. I'm trying to build a school campus. I got half of it built. I got to build the other part of it. That's my primary school campus. I'm thinking I should have declared that Rwandan Elementary School, Legacy Christian Academy, I should have declared that a Somalia daycare, and maybe I could have got some money from the feds, I'm thinking.
Absolutely. I just can't understand it. But here's what I realized. I was thinking about this morning, prepping for this hit with you, Jimmy. And when you when I'm a consultant to companies, right? And when you consult to some small privately owned company, They count every dollar that
Yeah.
you try to bill them for, right? The reason this fraud was never stopped is because this money doesn't belong to anyone. It's just a whole bunch of taxpayer money. So the people in charge of doling it out don't even care because it's not theirs.
I want to talk about your book. It ties into this topic about are we going to ever rebel against this type of governance that we have in our cities and states? We'll get to that in a moment. But do you think what's the fallout, the ramification of this? This is hitting over the holidays. Obviously, 120 million views is a big deal. But let's say, the ball drops in Times Square. We all move merrily along. 60 people have been convicted. We're slow rolling out. Does anything happen? I mean, there are people calling for Tim Walz's resignation in Minneapolis or Minnesota, the state. Is anybody going to pay the price for this? Is this finally going to wake us up?
I'm so worried that this will slip through the cracks.
Yeah.
That, the new year will get started. The next controversy will come along. We suffer from the goldfish syndrome. Goldfish has no memory of what just happened or what might be coming. It's just right there. And short-term memory loss. I mean, just instantly things disappear because there's always a new outrage that Trump has created, And I'm worried that this kind of falls by the wayside because where the hell are the Republicans in any of this? They always come out with statements on X. This is terrible. We're upset. They don't do anything. They just don't do anything. The Republicans, I've said this about the Republican Party in Oregon, but it turns out it may be true of the Republican Party nationwide. They are like, was it the Washington Generals that always played against the
Globetrotters?
And that bunch of white guys paid good money to just lose every single game. Okay, that's the Republican Party. They're okay being number 2 because they're feeding at the same trough.
Yeah. The voice, if you're listening later in the show, where thousands of earballs will hear and or see this show throughout the course of the day. It's Dennis Neal. He's got a podcast called What's Bugging Me, also a new book we'll talk about here in just a moment. But Dennis Neal, name you might recognize from CNBC, Fox Business, and all sorts of business publications out there. Dennis Neal, my guest. Another story that's just recently gone through the cracks was Fulton County, Georgia, and the votes that they found there and said, those votes shouldn't have been counted. And that story's already disappeared, but there's a follow-up that is worse than they thought, and it's really bad. But again, those stories, the news cycle happens 24 to 48 hours, and nobody seems to want to kind of dig into this thing. So we'll see if this one goes the way Fulton County.
The media do their best to make sure no one digs in, to make sure no one remembers. The media are so anti-Trump and that's why, you see on X that they're keeping track. What national news organizations have come out and picked up this Minnesota fraud story, and it's almost no one at all. And the only reason those media places are ignoring it is because they're afraid of helping Trump. They're afraid of showing that maybe Trump's right in some of the outrageous negative things that he says about spit-hole countries, etc. Yeah. And so they don't dare want to support the Trump agenda, but they've abrogated their role as watchdog and turned into lapdogs. And I'm just so sad to see it because I don't even recognize the media anymore. Shame on them.
Yeah. Dennis Neal is my guest. Dennis, I guess now the media is not reporting. That means a lot of folks aren't paying attention to it. They don't know it. They don't understand it because they don't have any source unless they're on X or watching shows like this or following Nick Shirley out there. So how is it that we have some news reports that the public is starting to wake up? You talk about Oregon. They're starting to push back, maybe take back some of these cities, some of these states. How is it that we get to the place where they actually do take back their elections when they don't have the information?
So I've actually got a take on that based on a lot of the people I've talked to in Portland and Oregon. And what a lot of people there say is this is like an addict that has to truly hit bottom before they can finally mend their ways and rehab. And their problem is we haven't hit bottom yet. And that may be true nationwide in terms of, but liberal voters at some point will wake up and say, enough of this. But unfortunately, things have to get far worse before they will, because we're all kind of in our own little tiny worlds. We're not really kind of looking out there more broadly. And if it doesn't affect us directly, why bother? It's just that today, so many people, I talked to this one expert. He talks about the nationalization of local politics. One reason they can't get anything fixed in Portland, Oregon, which has 4 times the homeless rate per capita of the national average, which has something like 20 or 30% more people per capita on SNAP and food stamps than the national average, even though it's the 16th or 20th richest state. I mean, it's just a mess what's going on out there. And this nationalization of local politics, to where all you have to do to win office in a city is oppose Trump. It ends up drowning out a focus on fixing our own problems of homelessness, open air drug use and dealing. Fentanyl pills sell in Portland downtown for 3 pills for $1. We're not going to worry about that because we'll just rail against Trump. Yeah. And then we'll get votes, because government, as one entrepreneur told me in Portland at a leadership summit, government is the only entity in the world that doesn't base its approach on outcomes and results. It only bases on whether we keep getting reelected. And only when we, the people, stop reelecting these fools will we get some real change.
It's amazing. If you hate Trump, I don't care if you hate Trump or not. You can hate MAGA people, whatever. But they're still right or wrong. Whether Trump's the head of the country, whether Biden's the head of the country, or Obama, wasting government, wasting taxpayer dollars on stupid programs is wrong. It's wrong to do what they're doing in Minnesota. I don't care whether the president is. It doesn't matter to me. But the Trump derangement syndrome is actually real. That they're so blinded by rage of the orange man that they just can't see right from wrong.
It's just incredible. And look, I have a lifelong friend since 9th grade in high school. We used to talk every week. He's in New York, where I am. We both grew up in South Florida. And this guy almost cut off our 50-year friendship because of my politics. And I'm not cutting him off. I'm privately speaking, I felt like this guy has some of the stupidest college liberal freshman views as a 60-year-old man of anyone. And yet I've never cut him off. No. I've never complained to him about his views. I'm happy to discuss them. But I find that liberals are unable to even have a civil conversation about it. They get so upset. And it's because they know they're slipping. They know there's something wrong with their approach. And that bad things are happening because of their approach.
Well, you saw what Tim Walz did yesterday, governor of Minnesota. He came out and said that Nick Shirley was a white supremacist because he was reporting on this, a white supremacist. And I ran for Congress a decade ago. I remember I was called a racist, bigot, a homophobe. I do a lot of work in Africa. They've never called me a racist over there. They like what I do, but they just hurl the names rather than say, hey, Nick Shirley's wrong, or let me take you there. No, he's a white supremacist for even talking about this.
The Tim Walz has to be the biggest single embarrassment as a governor of these 50 states. I mean, he's just absolutely awful. And the guy doesn't deserve to be heard at all. And when will Minnesotans wake up? It's just that they can't. I mean, because there's so many Somalis there controlling the urban vote that then outweighs the rural vote. This happens in Minnesota. It happens in Oregon. It happens in New York, where, in Oregon, which again went for Kamala Harris, and it hasn't gone for a Republican president since, I think, Reagan in '84. I mean, my gosh, they just keep over and over and over again doing the same thing, electing the same people with the same bad results. It's just absolutely depressing. Let's move on to a better topic somehow.
Let's talk about your book and the research you're doing. You've embedded yourself, if you will, in Oregon, talking about the beautiful state of Oregon. As a matter of fact, we had somebody just checked in a moment ago from rain-soaked Oregon. Ray, good morning on the YouTube channel. We appreciate you checking in. You're doing the research here, and are you optimistic? Because, we used to say as California goes, the country goes. As Oregon goes, maybe if they take back Oregon, maybe some other blue cities are going to be taken back.
Yeah, well, Oregon is canary in the coal mine, and it's a more important indicator than California or Newark, New Jersey, or New York City, because it's so small. So you've got kind of this lab right there, a petri dish to watch all the experiments. It's why Soros groups put in millions of dollars into the 2020 resolution that got hard drugs legalized in the state, that led to hundreds of overdose deaths. In 2024, the state legislature had to peel it back. Well, the Soros money helped get that thing passed, And where were we going with that? I kind of forgot my point.
That's welcome to my life. I forgot my point. You said it's canary in the coal mine.
Yes.
That as that goes, the country goes.
Right. You've got the Portland media market is like 65% of the state. It's the only market that counts. And so they love experimenting. They were one of the first cities to become a sanctuary city. When the Supreme Court issued a Grants Pass, Oregon case ruling saying, hey, you can't sweep the homeless off the street if you've got nowhere to put them. The state came out and endorsed a law even more saying that you can't get the homeless off the streets. You've got to house them. It's your responsibility to house them rather than their responsibility to house themselves. I mean, God, it's just so ridiculously liberal. Yeah. But now look what just happened. They needed 78,000 ballot signatures because Oregon governs itself. They can't trust the supermajority Democrat legislature to get anything done. So they end up doing these voter ballot signatures.
Ballot issues, yeah.
You need 78,000 signatures. They got 250,000 to put this new Department of Transportation tax increase, $4 billion over the next 10 years, up for a vote and say, wait a minute, we're going to peel this back. It's ridiculous. You're doubling or tripling our annual vehicle registration fee. You're tripling the title on sale transfer fee. I mean, just ridiculous what they're all doing. And people are getting sick of it. And 250,000 signatures in small Oregon means that even liberals are getting sick of this. In fact, there's a poll. There's this group, Save Our Cities, that I've been tracking. They commissioned a poll from a firm called Public Opinion Strategies, a nationwide firm. Oregoners in late September, I think it was, and 67% of the state's voters said to this poll, oh, we're seriously on the wrong track economically. And even like half of Portlanders themselves say, hey, we are hurting the rest of the state with our incredible liberal agenda. So there is a rising up. And I think that it will get the attention of Democrat politicians, and maybe they've got to do fewer stupid things.
Yep. Dennis Neal, my guest, you've maybe read him or followed him on Forbes or Wall Street Journal, CNBC, and of course, Fox Business News. Dennis Neal, my guest. Dennis, you've got a podcast called What's Bugging Me. We'll talk about how folks can watch that. Just look it up and What's Bugging Me. You also have the book called Oregoners that is coming up in the next year. So you want to plug that as well. And then I want to ask you one more question. It's all wrapped up into one ball. What are you going to do on New Year's Eve, Dennis? You seem like the partying type.
Oh, I got a good story on this one. All right. So many years ago, it's the 1980s, and we're going out, and we paid like $100 a head, which was real money in those days, to see Cab Calloway. Hidey, hidey, ho, hidey, hidey, digga, digga, digga. Okay, Cab Calloway in his white suit, and we're at the Red Parrot Disco Club, getting ready, and I'm in line checking my coat. As the clock strikes 12, Cab Calloway doesn't even come on till 1:30 in the morning. I'm tired. That is the last time that I went out on New Year's Eve. So I stay in with my sweetie. We order caviar, oysters, and lobster. We have champagne. We stay inside. We watch all the festivities on the television screen, and it's delightful and wonderful, and you don't feel ripped off, and you don't feel tired. And if I go to bed before midnight, that's fine.
Not only is Delilah going to have to look up Cab Calloway, I've got to look up Cab Calloway. That's a reference. I've heard that. I've looked that one up, Delilah. Do some research over there. Dennis, have a great New Year's, my friend. I appreciate you hopping on here. Happy New Year. Folks want to follow the podcast and or get a pre-copy of the book. How do they do that?
Well, follow me on X platform at Dennis Neal, Kneale. I'm also on Newsmax 3 times a week, including every Sunday morning at 8:40 in the morning on set. And you can track me there. So I hope everyone out there has a wonderful New Year. Let's remember something, okay? Most of us, Jimmy, and you would know this for the work you're doing in Rwanda, most of us have no real problems.
Yeah.
Not like less fortunate people out there. And we got to stop griping about life and stop looking at everything as, oh, it's so bad, it's so upsetting. And we got to start enjoying just being alive, baby, being here. I mean, it's a wonderful thing. And that the more grateful we feel, the better we will feel physically and emotionally and mentally. And so start lying to yourself if you're thinking you're in a bad place, and start saying, yeah, but at least it's not even worse. Yeah. Because we're lucky to be alive and in the greatest country in the world.
At least you don't live in Somalia. I mean, there are some worse things out there. Dennis Neal, it's a pleasure. Happy New Year to you. If folks want to get a copy of the book, it's going to be released next year sometime.
Yeah, Oregoners, I got to figure out when I can get that baby going, because this story is happening now. But meanwhile, The Leadership Genius of Elon Musk, my previous book, is on Amazon. It will change your life. 11 Lessons of Elon. What would Elon do? and it'll help you build a better life and a better career. And part of it really is that outlook, that outlook on life and how you choose to see it. Let's remember something, guys. Hope is a decision.
Yeah. Dennis Neal, pleasure, my friend. Go look him up on the Amazon. You can buy his book about Elon Musk. Dennis, Happy New Year. Appreciate you hopping on the program. Ladies and gentlemen, no further ado, let's bring in the lady of the day, the lady of the hour. And ladies and gentlemen, I tell you, despite what you said in this chat room out there, she is truly a lady. Ladies and gentlemen, Laura Carno. How are you?
Who said something else, Jimmy?
It was probably Scott. I don't know. He's one of your. Yeah, I know. I'm just making stuff. It was Scott. Just blame Scott.
Scott. All right.
I don't know. No,
right,
Lady Laura is on the program. This is going to be the Lady Laura segment. Good to have you here. How are you? Happy New Year, almost.
I'm very good, and your guest is absolutely right. We have no problems here. Every so often I'll hear somebody say there is nothing worse than traffic in Denver. Like, really, nothing worse. Can't come up with anything, can you?
Yeah. Some of the we've been some people have been noting on different platforms that we're on. We're getting a lot more trollers, which I guess is maybe a good sign for us. But it's like, nothing's worse than Donald John Trump, you Nazis. I'm like, really? Nothing's worse? I could think of a few things that are worse than that. I mean, I think of a few things worse than Obama. I think a few things worse than Biden. But hyperbolic speaking sometimes shows intellectually bankruptcy. Write that down, Delilah. That's got to go in the book.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
Laura, I kind of know the answer to this, and I think maybe the listeners who followed you for years know the answer to this. You're going to be out partying there on New Year's Eve?
Okay, so you say that you know the answer to it. I'm wondering what you think is going to happen.
I think you'll be in bed before 7.
Probably so.
Yeah, I mean,
not before 7.
I ain't judging or anything.
We might stretch it to 9 p.m.
Wow.
Maybe.
Yeah. I don't remember the last time I went out on New Year's. I had a party here in my home a few years ago. It's about 4 or 5 people. It wasn't really a party. It was more kind of a sitting. We all just kind of sat and, I have this cigar lounge at the house. So we sat and smoked cigars and watched the ball drop in New York. Well, we just sat there. It wasn't like we were dancing or anything like that. It's kind of casual.
Dancing. That was a good move there.
That's my Trump move. I practice. That's causing some people derangement syndrome right now. All right, Laura, be up to 9 o'clock. I'll make sure by 8:30. I wish you a happy New Year.
Okay, that sounds good. And I heard Dennis talk about caviar and champagne and stuff. I got a big hunk of brie cheese because there is nothing more amazing and buttery and that high fat content than brie cheese and some good crackers and, watching what you're watching in your comfortable clothes, away from anybody drunk driving.
Hey, producer Chad, you see what's happening? We got people talking about caviar and brie cheese on this program. You're like the Jeffersons. We're moving on up, baby. We've got brie cheese and caviar. It's a good day.
Well, so and Costco sells both of those things, by the way. So they're kind of mainstream.
Who's it? The comedian lady. She did a commercial years ago. Brett somebody. Anyway, she. What was it? Pork rinds and Perrier. It was her kind of a tagline in the commercial line. I kind of feel like that's what this has become: caviar and brie cheese.
That's the trolls.
Yeah, pork rinds and Perrier. So anyway, all right, Lauren, let's dive into a couple of things. New Year's, by the way, programming note, producer Chad, Peter Lumage has called in sick this morning, so he'll have to join us next week. So programming note for producer Chad, Peter Lumage, our attorney, the immigration attorney, is sick and ill. His phrase is, "I'm sicker than a dog." So I don't know how sick a dog gets, but he's pretty sick. Lauren, let's talk a couple of things here. Year in review. It's been almost a year since Donald John Trump. This time last year, we were ending the Biden administration. Give me the Laura Carno year in review.
Yeah, I think there's a couple of themes. Jimmy, if you look back just broadly on the Trump administration, we've had more peace and more transparency. And lots of people voted for Donald Trump for the Supreme Court, for investigations, for this and that. And I'm looking at more peace and more transparency. When I talk about more peace, there are differing numbers, which isn't surprising to anybody, between what the Trump administration says that they've brokered, 20-something peace deals around the world. Other pundits say that it's fewer, maybe some of them were ceasefires. But President Trump, when he talked about the war in Ukraine, he spoke about it, I thought, as a father, as a human, saying, all of these boys are dying, all of these young men are dying, and for what? And I think that's a really good way to be looking at this. And when you look at the thousands of people in these countries that are no longer killing each other, how many people did they kill last year, the year before, and say, okay, so for this coming year, 400 people or 1,000 people or 30,000 people will not die. That's significant. That is a generational change in some of these countries that have had a really, really tough history with war. Donald Trump, regardless of, people who hate him for all of the reasons, I think everybody, regardless of what side of the aisle you're on, should be able to join hands around this and say more peace around the world is good. Fewer people dying in wars is good, and leave it at that.
Yeah, after 20 years in Afghanistan, brought to you by a Republican president, perpetrated by Democrat presidents. Shame on the political type that are beholden to the military-industrial complex, and let's try to stop as much dying as we can all around the globe. That's a good thing. I'm watching this Somalia stuff, the Somalia pirates up in Minnesota. And I think Dennis mentioned this, and we've mentioned this before. It's not just others. It's not just Minnesota where this type of thing is happening. You can look right here in our Colorado. Nick Shirley was in Colorado a couple of years ago doing some investigative reporting on the state of Colorado and our work to not stop the Venezuelan gang members from coming into Aurora, Colorado. Nick Shirley actually was in Colorado reporting on that. The question is, it's easy to look at Minnesota and go, that's not happening in my state, but there's nonsense happening in all of these states, Colorado included, and it doesn't just have to be fraud pretending to be a daycare. It's just, where's all the taxpayer dollars and why are my roads not better?
Right. And this goes into kind of the transparency piece that we are seeing much increased transparency around the country, whether it's, what we've seen in Doge. Doge saying, hey, shouldn't we have a payee on all of the taxpayer money is going somewhere? Who did it go to and why? We have what's going on through the Maha movement of, we don't have to ban things, but how about stop suppressing reports that say that these are cancer-causing dyes. There's petroleum products in our food. Shouldn't we know that so we can make good decisions? Yeah, and so you bring up Nick Shirley. Who's the media now? The media used to hold government accountable, and now it's people like, you looked at like the Twitter files back when Elon Musk took over Twitter and all that kind of stuff. But you bring up Colorado, some great trends nationally. In Colorado, and I'm kind of in anticipation of this kind of year in review, Colorado starting to look like any other blue state. So our roads suck. The state is ranked 43rd overall in roads, and of that, 47th in rural highway pavement. Electricity rates are going up. Colorado leads the nation, Jimmy, in insurance premium increases. So you look at that and you say, there are a whole lot of things that are impacting people's wallets big time. And what do you think the legislature is interested in? Well, it looks like in the coming year, they're going to try and regulate how many guns a law-abiding citizen can own. They call it like an armory law or something like that. They've reintroduced wolves in areas that didn't vote for it. Livestock losses are absolutely racking up. Be interesting to see once they come over the mountain and come into Boulder and start taking people's little dogs.
Yeah.
And Attorney General Phil Weiser, who's going to be running for governor, has already this year sued the Trump administration 47 times. And you're like, hey, how about maybe looking at the affordability crisis, maybe something like that?
Yeah. How about look at the public school standardized testing that the left puts on themselves? And our students suck. I mean, really, that's a sad thing. My son graduated 2 or 3 years ago from public high school, and it is amazing when he got to university when he learned what he didn't know in high school. Part of that was because Jared Polis shut us down for COVID so long. He had one class he struggled in, but I said, "Didn't you take that in high school?" He goes, "Yeah, but that was on the iPad sitting in my bedroom when I was for an entire year." So we got a lot of problems in this state, and for some reason, it goes back to what Dennis Neal said. This is just Trump derangement syndrome. They just the orange man bad. I cannot see reality of right or wrong, good, evil, wasteful, and not wasteful because I hate the orange man so bad. It really is a mental crisis.
Yeah, and I saw Scott just brought up the head of the Department of Transportation is a woman with a PhD, pilot higher and deeper is one of my favorite PhD language in there. But yeah, she was, if I recall, and maybe Scott knows, I think she was a friend of Michelle Obama's.
She was by the way, she has a bachelor's, the same degree I have as an undergrad, as history. And I have an undergrad was history. I was planning to go to law school, a pre-law guy. I had no business designing the Colorado Department of Transportation roads. I'm not qualified. I'll admit that. She was Jack Lew's daughter, who was Barack Obama's Treasury Secretary, signed all your dollar bills, and Michelle Obama allegedly and legendarily called Michelle called Jared and said, "Hey, Jared Polis, governor, I know you got elected, and we got the." Jack is tired of Shoshana with her bachelor's living in the basement. So could you hire her? Oh, let's put her in charge of the Department of Transportation. So yeah.
And you say that with your bachelor's in history and my lack of college degree at all, I would trust Jimmy Lakey and Laura Carno to run the Department of Transportation in Colorado over Shoshana Liu. And here's why. The way that you and I look at things is there are a few things that most people agree government should do. I could make a case that private companies could figure out the roads better than government. But anyway, most people say that government should take care of the roads. You and I would understand that means roads. It doesn't mean bike lanes.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean stuff that, it doesn't mean a bunch of toll roads, all that kind of stuff. You and I would do a better job.
Yeah.
But I don't want a job.
Yeah, I don't want the job, but anybody who, again, there's people that just don't want to recognize that the roads in Colorado, they suck. And you go to any other state, they absolutely are horrible. We can't figure out how to get stripes on the roads. They blame it on the snow. It doesn't snow here year round. We can at least stripe in the off season. The roads here are bad, but some people just have, oh, he's a conservative. He said it, so it must be bad. They must be wrong. And that's part of the problem when you can't say, you know what, they have a good point. That's a good point. That's a good point. Then that's how we end up there. That's how we end up where we're at.
Yeah, but we have a bunch of money to sue the Trump administration 47 times in 1 year. And it's purely political. He's running for governor. He wants to be able to say, I hate Donald Trump more than these other Democrat candidates hate Donald Trump. And so he's spending our money to prop himself up as, again, orange man bad.
I'm thinking we're heading into a mid-year election, and I'm thinking I don't know if I hate him more than you hate him, or I hate him more than most people, is going to play out in November. Maybe it will. Maybe it'll be winning success. It didn't work out for them last November. It didn't work out very well. So is that going to be the winning strategy in the 2026 is who hates the orange guy the most?
I mean, Colorado has been very different than a lot of the states where Donald Trump has lost Colorado in the last 3 years, or the last three election cycles. And Colorado isn't a Trump state. It's obviously Republicans like him, but this isn't a Republican state. We're majority unaffiliated. Many of those unaffiliateds lean left, and it's just an anti-Trump state. I know a lot of Republicans don't want to hear that, but the numbers on that don't lie. And so, maybe orange man bad and orange man badder, and I hate him more than the other guy. Maybe that is a strategy here. But, I think as time goes on and we see wins at the national level, as we see, the market going up and taxes coming down, I disagree with the president on his tariff strategy, but, be that as it may, I think people are going to see good things happening nationally and then look around and say, well, what about us?
Yeah. Real quick, two more topics. So one of those is Nick Shirley. I want to kind of circle back there. It's just fascinating. And it does cause you pause that even some of the news sources that a lot of conservatives rely on, we're not following this story like Nick Shirley was. And so if we can say that as conservatives, hey, be careful that you're sitting in front of the cable box with your clicker every night thinking you're getting all the news. You're not, just because they're a conservative network. And I think the left would be well to remember that as well, watching MSNBC and the freak show there, going, hey, maybe I'm not getting the full story. None of us are getting the full story. It takes independent guys like Shirley to go out there and get the full story.
Yeah, and that's what happens with establishment media on both sides. Is they've got they're trying to sell ads. They have the stuff that's palatable to the most number of people, and most of us who watch the Jimmy Lakey show, we're not interested in palatable. We're actually going to go out and look at multiple sources and see what's going on. I don't mean you're not
the most unpalatable guy. Lakey, the most unpalatable guy out there. He's unleashed.
That's not what I mean.
Unhinged.
That's not what I mean. You know what I mean? But we're interested in the truth and what's going on and what's happening with our taxpayer dollars. We're interested in those things. I, on a very regular basis, flip over to MSNBC, flip over to CNN, look at the broadcast news to see what they're covering. And if you look at the difference between, let's say, a Fox News channel morning broadcast and what editorial decisions are made on what stories to cover versus CNN, MSNBC, and broadcast, you might as well be living on a different planet. The stories are completely different. And it is, I think, incumbent upon all of us, Republican, Democrat, unaffiliated, whatever, go look at multiple sources of information, including X, and see what's going on out there. To take a deep dive, look, follow some rabbit trails, see what's going on in the world, not just what corporate media is feeding you.
This fraud in Minnesota dates back to 2013. There's been 60 people convicted. So, Republicans want to it's all Timmy Waltz's fault. No, he might have been complicit in it, but it's been going on a long time, and it's Republican and Democrat politicians' problem that they didn't stop the spending going, we have a problem there in Minnesota and in other states. So there's more to the story than just Timmy Waltz is bad and we hate him and he has jazz hands. I don't like the guy, but this fraud's been going on for a long time. And Republicans haven't squawked a damn bit about it until Nick Shirley showed up through the video camera.
Yeah. And some of it's reminiscent of, back when what was his name? James O'Keefe, when he was running his previous organization, Project Veritas, and it was doing these undercover videos of, Planned Parenthood and all these different things. Prior to that, there was another group doing that with a group called Acorn that was doing all these housing things and doing these undercover videos. Very important to get that information out. And again, who are the real journalists? It's not necessarily the people on the TV screen.
No. 28 years ago, Laura, today I landed at Denver International Airport, and I thought I was here for a short season of life. I chose this over... Well, I'd already given up law school because someone said I had a pretty voice about a year before. Then I was heading to Nashville for the music entertainment business, which I still kept going for many years here. 28 years ago. Did I get to Colorado before you did?
We got here in 2000.
Well, I got here in 97, ma'am. You're a transplant. I'm like a native compared to you.
Well, I'm glad we're here. When we came here, we had a choice between here and I think it was San Antonio, maybe. My husband had 2 job opportunities, and we chose the Colorado one, and I'm very happy that we came here.
28 years. I don't know if I've stuck with anything for 28 years. I'm not that old to have that many opportunities for 28 years, but in the state of Colorado, 28 years, and boy, has it changed since you got here and I got here.
Right. Yeah. I was happy when we moved here from California. I was happy when we got here that Republicans behaved like Republicans, because they didn't do that in California. They behaved like, some sort of a moderate Democrat in order to get elected in California. So I was like, oh my gosh, Republicans, they behaved properly here. I was so excited. and most of them do now. They're just far fewer of them.
Yeah, far fewer of them. And don't hold it against Laura because she said she came here from California, because, Colorado's like, don't get those Texans in Colorado. You and I are like the worst of everything for these people that are purist in Colorado. They're like, it all went to hell when the Texans and the Californians showed up, and they blame it all on us, Laura. They blame it all on me.
Here's the thing. I think the record will reflect that Jimmy Lakey and Laura Carno are not the problem.
Yeah.
We have not ruined Colorado. We have been a net positive to conservative voices in Colorado. A Carno Lakey ticket.
I would like to say so. All right, there's less than 48 hours left in the year. If folks want to get those last-minute donations in for your great group, get that tax deduction, fastercolorado.org. Big plans, I'm sure, for 2026, and any gift today would be very helpful to help you hit the ground running.
Absolutely. Thanks for bringing that up. Just like Rivers promised, we exist on donations largely, and sponsorships and that sort of thing. So if you have it in your heart, if you've got that in your budget, we are talking to more people about their year-end giving and keeping us in mind for their annual year-end giving. And that really helps groups like ours and groups like Rivers Promise to make those longer-term decisions, knowing that we've got some folks that are going to be with us year in, year out, and that's always helpful. Also, if you're a sponsor of Faster Colorado, at certain levels, that means you get to show up to classes and see what we're doing, and that's always fun for sponsors to be able to do. Because it's I maintain that to know faster is to love faster, and you'll be with us forever, because it's a quite a fun thing to do, to be out at the range with us, similar to, Jimmy, how you've talked about when you go to Rwanda with Rivers Promise on your trips, it changes your life. So same kind of concept.
And you know what's about to happen? We'll reconvene next year, Laura, good Lord willing, and it's going to happen. The Colorado State Legislature is going to be back in session, and Laura Carno will be watching it like a hawk, and we'll be talking about that coming up in January.
Yes, I don't know if my heart can take it. There's as I said, there's this bill out there. I don't remember if it's called the Armorers Law or something like that, that you can only own a certain number of guns. And it's like, it makes people like me say, clearly I don't have more. If you don't think I should have any more, I better go buy another one. But just because, don't tell me no.
Yeah. We should have done that. We should do that maybe next year. The laws that are going into effect this year in Colorado, California, etc. It's always fun. January 1st, a lot of goofy laws show up on the books in Colorado, California. All these states are going to have them. Laura Carno, Happy New Year to you. Make a donation. Fastercolorado.org, fastercolorado.org, fastercolorado.org. Laura Carno, by the way, she's not homeless any longer. She's been helped out by society, and it's a great shelter you're in. I see it's a beautiful shelter.
Jimmy, now that I have a kitchen, I've been cooking something every day. My poor husband's going to gain weight from all the bread I'm baking, and I'm just so happy to have a kitchen.
Well, welcome home, Laura. Welcome home.
Thank
Laura
you.
Carno, fastercolorado.org, fastercolorado.org, fastercolorado.org. Make sure you make a donation today. Jim jumps in. He's watched Laura Carno and I for a while. The Dome of Dummies season. That's right. The Golden Dome of Dummies. The Colorado State Legislature convenes sometime in January, and we will follow it here on this program. And that's saying. Oliver says, all the adulation coming for Laura. It's Colorado's gain and Texas's loss that Laura and her husband chose Colorado over Texas. You notice I also talked about 20-something years ago, immigrating, coming to the state, and making my way here. And Oliver Oliver, Scott, they're all Laura Carno, we're so glad she came from California. And I mean, it's like what did I say? 20-something years ago today, I landed here, and Oliver and Scott are all in a tizzy about how great they are that Laura's here. I see what's happening here. I do see what's happening, Delilah. I get as much respect in this chat room as I get from you daily here at the Lakey Entertainment Towers. I see what's happening there. Yeah, Oliver, it's Colorado's gain and Texas's loss that her and her husband chose Colorado. Oliver, what did you say about me? I chose Colorado over Tennessee. Anywhere else I could have gone. I'm just a talented, handsome fellow like I am. Okay. I get it. I understand. I understand what's happening here. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I want to remind you, we've had a great year on this program. Sherry Cree has helped make it possible. She's a great realtor, and I know you're buying the champagne, the caviar, the brie cheese. If you're Laura Carno, you're getting ready for your New Year's Eve gathering, right? Well, you also need to start thinking about those 2026 resolutions. What are your dreams? What are your goals? Are you going to stay where you're at? Are you going to move? Is it time to buy? Time to sell? Listen, you got to call Sherry. You got to get that strategy session underway and have a conversation with her and talk about what you want to do. Maybe you're not sure if you want to sell. Maybe you're not sure the interest rates. Maybe you're not sure the economy. Maybe you're not sure the neighborhood, the city. You just want to have somebody else look at, talk to Sherry. She'll have a strategy session. Maybe you're a first-time home buyer and you're thinking, I think the dream of home ownership has escaped me in Colorado. Listen, you talk to Sherry and find out if that is if that's true. Talk to her. She can help you with kind of a first-time home buyer's instruction session to where you can figure out if the dream of home ownership is available to you. And if it is, probably is, she can figure out how to help you get there. She's a fantastic realtor. Been to Africa with her. She gives a portion of every proceed of a sale back to a charity of the person's choice. So she gets a commission. She says, hey, who do you want? Like, I'm going to make a donation to your favorite charity or church or what. She'll do that for you. Also, if you're in the military, you're a veteran, she discounts her own commission, taking money out of her pocket, just keeping it in the deal for you so that your dream of home ownership is more affordable. Listen, I know it's holidays. I know you're buying the brie and the caviar, but you've got to understand something real clear here, my friends, that February could be a time to start selling your home. You say, that's too early. No, right after the Super Bowl, there's a market that goes into place, and it can actually be a very good seller's market in most years. So getting your home up for sale earlier could actually put tens of thousands of dollars extra in your pocket. Sherry's talked about this on the program, and waiting too long into the spring season could cost you some money. Could be a better buyer's market. So know the seller's market, know the buyer's market, which end you want to be on, and Sherry can help you find the nuance of getting there. Up that I-25 corridor in Colorado, homeswithsherry.com, homeswithsherry.com, homeswithsherry.com. Be sure to tell her that you heard about me talking about her. That makes sense? Yeah. That I was talking about her on this program, homeswithsherry.com. All right, I want to share something with you here, if I may. I think I may because it's my program. But I want to share a video that I shared before Christmas. And I want to share it simply because, my friends, sorry, it's starting on the wrong device here. I want to share it because it's not going to be pertinent much after Christmas, but I want to show you this. And this is the work. A lot of you have followed our work in Rivers Promise and in Rwanda, and we appreciate all that you do to follow that. This was our Christmas party, happened just about a week ago, and it's fun. You'll see the faces of kids. Yesterday, I sent out an email. If you're on the email list, you got it. It says we're almost close to our goal. I need about 4 more people that will donate that $1,950 to help fund a classroom for an entire month. That's 30 kids, food, their sponsorship, everything takes care of for $1,950, takes care of a classroom for an entire month. If you can help us with that, we would appreciate that. I need about 4 more. Producer Chad and I were talking about this last night, and we were shooting for 15. And when you piecemeal everything together, we need about 4 more to do it. Some people did the full amount, some people did partial amounts. But if you can help us, it's a one-time year-end gift. We'd love to have you do it. Rivers Promise. And again, it's a donation. So if you get that in by midnight tomorrow night, the 31st, then doggone it, you're going to get that tax benefit that you might get on your itemized tax deduction for making a donation. So if you can help us, we would appreciate that. We'd love you for it. And again, if you don't know the mission of Rivers Promise, you don't know what we do, go to our website, check it out. There's some videos, mini documentary, but it's just simply based on a promise that I made to my son when I adopted him from Rwanda, that I'd take care of all the friends and the kids that I could not adopt and could not bring home with me. And I've taken care of them now for over going on 2 decades. And that's one of the things you kind of think about how how did I end up in Colorado? How did I, had I chosen the Tennessee path, had I chosen the other path, a law school, I probably never would have ended up here. And God said, no, you're going to end up here because you got to start this charity. It all worked out. It all works out. And we showed up where I needed to be 28 years ago today. But I want to play this video for you. This is our Christmas gathering, and maybe it'll inspire you if you haven't made a year-end donation. Maybe you got an extra $1,950. Maybe you got an extra $20, $25, $50, $100. Anything you do, again, end of the year, final year, last year, after hear me talk about it, we'll talk more about it next year. And well, let me show you this video. This is our Work in Rivers Promise. This is our Christmas party. And some of you saw this last week. And then when we come back, I'm going to give you a big time announcement about something we're doing in January on the show. Don't miss it. Watch the video. Go. I think it's ready.
As a team? Yes! As a team, as a team, as a team.
As a team, as a team.
Knowledge, empathy, teamwork, respect. My name is Merva Eragalini. We come from Rivers Promise Legas Christian Academy. We are going to present for you a poem called We Are the Classroom. Poem. We are the classroom. We are the classroom. Loud and alive. Where minds collide and dreams arise. We are the chalk, we are the pen, we are the board. We write the way when days are dark. Thank
That was a big-time Christmas party that happened last year. There's our field director, Jonas, jumping up. He cracks me up every year. He dresses up like Santa Claus. Anyway, that was a Christmas party. That's a big deal for these kids, and I talked about they don't get Christmas gifts. They've never celebrated like we celebrate. They don't understand a Christmas tree in the lobby. These kids live in very poor and impoverished conditions. We give them a nice school uniform. That's what that $65 a month takes care of. You can actually sponsor an individual child, know them by name, pen pal with them. They'll write you letters. You can write them letters. If you like to do that, just go to the Rivers Promise website, click sponsorship, pick the child, and a lot of those kids do not have a sponsor, and we're paying for them out of the general fund. This is why when we raise money like the 1950, we're in that general fund area, because we do a lot of operations out of our general fund, because not every kid has a direct sponsor. So if you can help, maybe that's your New Year's resolution to do more good around the world. Maybe a monthly sponsorship would be good, $65 a month, maybe a one-time sponsorship just for general $65 a month. Listen, whatever you can do, end of the year giving, we appreciate it. I'm going to leave it alone and let the Lord lead you as he would. But if you want to make that last minute donation, feel free to do so. And we'll jump back on it next year. Next year, we'll be announcing soon our casino gala that happens for Rivers Promise, a big fun event we have there. Also, our golf tournament's always the Friday after Labor Day. And in between them, we just rely on these donations, and we appreciate all of you. So from the bottom of my heart, for all of you that have contributed $5, $10, $500, that sponsor kids, whatever you do for Rivers Promise, we appreciate it. Producer Chad and I were talking about this show, and we've done it for a year. And we're like, well, maybe, I don't know, do we hang up you always kind of evaluate, like, do we renew ourselves a contract? We had this conversation. And one of the great reasons that producer Chad and I wake up every morning to do this isn't because we're making big money off the show. Maybe one day we shall, but we get to spread the word about Rivers Promise and the charity work. So thank you to each of you in 2025 who have donated. And if you haven't donated, maybe it wasn't in your budget this year, try next year. We'd love to have you next year. But if you can squeeze in one more donation, we would appreciate it. I need 4 more people, hopefully before midnight tomorrow, to hit that to $1,950. $1,950. If you can help us, if you can do part of that, but $19, whatever you can do it, and end of the year. But thank you to all of you who have participated and listened to my ramblings and watched our shows from Africa this year. I appreciate all of you, because you've listened to it, and many of you have been so generous, and we appreciate you indeed. God bless you. All right, coming up next year, we are, Princess and producer Chad and I, perhaps outside of a better judgment, said, yeah, let's renew our contract. Let's do it again. And so we're going to start doing some road shows, and we're going to start with our first road show in Colorado, and we're working on some ideas to take a road show to Texas, and it's going to be the show live at a location. And throughout the course of the year, we're hoping to get all that squared away, work out the details. But the one in Colorado is easy because we've already done it. You may remember Inauguration Day last year. If you were joining us, we just started the show back that time. Inauguration Day was a very cold day in Colorado. It was like below zero. So we had food trucks aligned for our event we were going to do the show from the Casbar Cigar Lounge in Lafayette, Colorado. We were going to do the show from there, which we did, but food trucks were supposed to be there. It was just a very, very fun, going to be a great day, except we woke up, it was like snowy and -10. And it was cold, and the food trucks couldn't operate because the pipes would freeze up. So we had to, it was crazy. But that event was packed to capacity. I mean, it was overflowing. It was elbows to ear holes. I won't say something that I used to say in the concert industry when I was there. We oversold the room. We called it butts to nuts. That's what it's called, selling tickets. That was a big event. And I know the inauguration of the show, we're going to return there on the 20th of January to the scene of that original broadcast. That was our first road show. We didn't call it a road show then, just called it a live show. We're going to do the road show at the Casbar Cigar on, I think it's a Tuesday, January the 20th. We'll do the show that morning live there. No inauguration, but we'll have an open mic. We'll let people talk about what they think about the last year, and a lot of great guests, and we'll give some giveaways and things like that. So Ray says one of our road trips will be in Oregon. Maybe when Dennis Neal's back up there, we'll maybe do a road show. So we're going to do some road shows, and our first road show of 2026 is going to be on January the 20th at Casbar Cigar Lounge, early morning cigars. I love it. Thank you. And that's going to be in Lafayette, Colorado, just outside of Boulder. If you're out watching out of state, now 20-minute drive out of downtown Denver. And so we'd love for you to come in to town. Last year, that weather was so crappy, and we had guys driving like 2 hours to get down there. Some guys showed up late because they were sliding all the way from Fort Collins and Wellington, Colorado, and Windsor, Colorado. It was a packed show, and we're going to return back there in January to the Casbar Cigar Lounge in Lafayette, and we're going to hope that we have better weather this year, and that would be very good. So come join us for the road show. Watch the show live. There won't be inauguration on the show on the television, but there will be a lot of fun, a lot of festivities, and a lot of fellowship one with another. That's coming up January the 20th, and more road shows to be announced. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I've talked about the donations. I've talked about all of your involvement. I do appreciate it. In behalf of the kids in Rwanda, another prop for you. Thank you for all that you do. That's one of our kids in our classrooms, and some of you helped build those desks right there. So we appreciate that. riverspromise.com, riverspromise.org. All right, let's do this. It's the final stolen meme section of the show. And again, the question of the day: what were you going to be doing for New Year's Eve? And I don't think many people responded, because I think most of you are like, I ain't doing nothing for New Year's Eve. I'm staying home. Good for you. Be like Dennis Neal, have caviar. Be like Laura Carno, and have brie cheese. Be like me. I'm like a block of cheddar, and I'll be fine. I'm not a fancy man. I'm a very simple fellow. Kind of. Round and around the globe we go, where we steal the memes from. No one knows. There's Kamala right in front of the Leering Center. Many elite Democrats leaders, including Kamala Harris, have graduated from the Quality Learning Center in Minneapolis. Yep. Yeah, that was the Leering Center. That's where Kamala went. That's where she attended. Round around the globe we go, where we steal the memes from. No one knows. Look at there. I should identify themselves, show IDs and identify themselves. Well, if I should show themselves and identify themselves, the other guy says, well, what about voters? How about voter ID? If ICE has to have IDs, yeah, voters should have to ID themselves. Round around the globe we go, where we steal the memes from. No one knows. The CIA will replace waterboarding with a video of Kamala reading her new book. Oh, I'll give you all the answers you want. Just don't make me listen to Kamala read a book. Round around the globe we go, where we steal the memes from. No one knows. Oh, there we go. Here we go. Sometimes someone unexpected comes into your life out of nowhere, makes your heart race, and changes you forever. We call those people the cops. That's what happens, Delilah. You understand what happens with that, right? My heart palpitated. That was the cops, Delilah. It was not your husband. All right, here we go. Round and around the globe we go. Where we steal the memes from, no one knows. You know how old people don't have a filter and they don't give a poop what anybody thinks? That's me. I'm old. I'm old people. Anybody else with me? I just don't poop. I don't care. Don't care. That's because you're old. Round around the globe we go. Where you steal the memes from, no one knows. Oh, there it is, ladies and gentlemen. The last song of the year from China, where they have said, please stop the intellectual property thievery of stealing memes from around the internet. And when we've upset the Chinese, you know that we have upset a lot of people. Jeff sent a message on the YouTube. God bless you, Jimmy, Chad, Delilah, and however you spell Aiden. That's actually the right way to spell Aiden. The hipster youth. I don't call them the hipster youth enough that work at the Lakey Entertainment Towers. Have a great new year. Jimmy, please get yourself a new set of bearings for the globe next year. When I had it on this side, it worked better. It's the directional. It's a bearing issue. Kevin says squeeze cheese, saltines, and Chardonnay. I like the cheese and the saltines. All these fancy crackers. All a man needs in his life is some saltines. Chardonnay, not so much. Not going to do that. Not going to do that. All right, everybody. I look forward to seeing you next year. Good Lord willing, the creeks don't rise. And we decide to show back up here. We'll be back here Monday, the first Monday of January. Ray says, Jimmy, you and your crew are an asset to Colorado. I thank you, Ray. I appreciate that very sincerely. It's not what you guys were saying when Laura Carno was on the show. She was the asset. I'm just the ass. I see how I get treated. I see the disrespect that I get, but that's okay. I'm used to it after years. The redheaded stepchild of streamcasting, podcasting, and broadcasting. That's me, the redheaded stepchild. All right, let's wrap it up. Go donate. Would you do that? Would you donate right now? riverspromise.org. If it's $1, donate $1. If it's $100, donate $100. Whatever you can do, make a donation. Year-end donations are welcome. I mean it. I love y'all. I really do. Well, looking for the road show. It's going to be fun. Delilah, you're not going. Can't get you out in public. Last time you did, there was an indecency charge came your way. Well, just because you're in public doesn't mean you get to go dancing. It's not the weekend, Delilah. You stay here. Ladies and gentlemen, may God Happy New Year, everybody. I'll see you next Monday, first Monday of 2026. Until we meet then, may God bless you. And may God bless America. I am Jimmy Lakey. Peace. See you next year. I'm out of here. Bye-bye.